Hello, everyone. I am Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and we are talking today about how you are not your diagnosis. I know. I'm just going to jump right into it before we even talk about anything else because I feel like this is such an important topic. And I know that when you hear those three little words, usually it's cancer, it could be a million different things, but as soon as you hear those words, it's like your life shuts down. Your existence becomes small. It's hard to breathe. All of these different things pop into your head. And it's kind of like, how do I move forward? And I'm not saying, let me just start off. I am not saying that you are not allowed to have your feelings of sadness, grief, fear, all of the so-called negative emotions, because it's a part of life. It is. It's 100% a part of life. But it doesn't have to be how you live your life every single day. And I'm just saying this. Now, my mom was a really good example of that. She and it's kind of funny that I still believe her. She passed away when I was 14, and she used to say to me, she had cancer, and she used to say, more people live with cancer than die from it. I'm going to be fine. All of these things. She ended up passing away from it. However, I still believed her, and that's always stuck with me. And so, of course, it made it harder for me because she abandoned me, as they might say. But I digress. We're not talking about that. The point, though, is that she literally was working. She owned a tavern. For those of you who are not familiar with that, it's a bar where people drink and whatnot. And she owned one, and she was literally in there working with her oxygen machine. You were allowed to smoke back then in bars too. She was literally working in there until the day before she passed away, or like maybe 2 days. So I'm just saying, like, that woman did not let her diagnosis rule her life. And I'm not saying that she didn't feel sorry for herself, and I'm not saying she didn't go through all the emotions that are normal and I would expect you to have. But that doesn't mean you have to live there. That doesn't mean that you have to be that. You never hear anybody say, like, I am a broken arm. You have a broken arm. It's the same thing when you have an illness. It shouldn't become you. It shouldn't be, like, hi, I'm Julianne and I'm just going to say cancer for lack of, because seems to be one of the most common things that people are afraid of, and is very common. So I'm just going to use that as the example. Just know that you can fill in the blank with any sort of illness or disease. But my point, though, is that it doesn't. You don't greet people like that. Hi, in fact, a lot of people don't say anything to anybody. So what do? What do I mean by this? What do I mean by you are not your diagnosis? I wrote about it in my book, Achieve Wellness, as a co-author. And I've been shilling that for a while now. So I'll show you guys a copy of that in a minute. But my point, though, is that if you let something negative define you, that's where you're going to be living your life from. It could be anything. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a disease. But if you're looking at your life through the lens of illness, then of course everything is colored by that. What if, since you're going to be experiencing life anyway, and nobody has any guaranteed amount of time on this planet. And I think that that's where a lot of problems with diagnosis comes in, is that you feel like all of a sudden you have this expiration date on your life. Well, everybody has that. And it just becomes more real to you because you finally are aware of it in a way that most people aren't. Doesn't mean it wasn't there before. It just means that you're more aware of it now. It doesn't mean you have less time. It means you're more aware of the time that you have. Now, what if, let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say you had 3 weeks to live. Okay. Let's just say you have 3 weeks to live. What would you do with those 3 weeks? How would you actually live? Now, would you say that you live more that way than somebody who thinks that they're going to live forever, who spends their days I don't know, binge watching Netflix and playing video games and scrolling social media and all these things that don't even make you present to your life. They just sort of take you out of reality. Personally, I would rather have 3 weeks of really living than an entire lifetime of not really being present. So, in a way, it is a blessing to have a diagnosis. You guys know my world. I come from the world of addiction. And, I used to hate it when people would say, I'm a grateful alcoholic. I'm like, dude, what do you have to be grateful for? You're an alcoholic or you call yourself one. And it finally made me realize that, the reason why people say that is because it woke them up. It woke them up to deal with their life. It woke them up to be present for their life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything. It woke them up. And that's why they're grateful, because now they finally are living their lives instead of checking out through drinking and drugs. They're finally present to their life. So I get what they're saying now. It's like, you don't have to be your diagnosis. You don't have to be, like for me, my diagnosis would have been alcoholic. I'm sorry. I refuse to call myself that because I don't drink. I have no intention of drinking. I'm okay with saying I'll never drink again. All those things. But my point, though, is that I keep saying this is my point. But really, it depends on who you're asking what to. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. But before we do that, it's time for a commercial break. We're going to go to a commercial break really, really, really quick. And we'll be right back after these messages. But before we go, I do want to say hello to everybody who is watching us live. It's good to see you. Welcome back. I'm Julianne. You're watching On Your Wellness. And before the commercial break, we started talking a little teeny weeny bit about not being your diagnosis. And what I was touching on was the idea that, if you think of yourself as like this person that is so violently ill or sick or about to die, then you're looking at everything through that fear lens. However, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Now, like I said, please honor all of your feelings. Don't let anything camp or push it down, push it down inside of you. However, you don't have to stay in that mindset the entire time. It's okay to have fears and doubts and all of these things. But here's the thing that I want you to really think about too. And I'm not saying I have to, preface this. I'm not saying don't go to your doctor. I am not saying don't trust your doctor. I am saying that your doctor only knows as much as they know. And that's it. So you have to be your own advocate. 100%. I'm always talking about this, hence the name of the show, Own Your Wellness, right? So what do I mean? What I'm saying is that the doctor only knows what they know. So they see a certain set of things and it looks to them a certain way. How many people are misdiagnosed all of the time? How many people die because they didn't go to the doctor, or they never, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with them, or they were told nothing was wrong with them? My point is that you don't give up, and you have to listen to yourself. You 100%, you have got to listen to your instincts. Your instincts are going to tell you what to do. Now, let's say you have some sort of illness. Pretty much everything is reversible. How do I know this? Because there's science to back this up. What are people like? Doctors are not trained to teach you this. They're trained to give you a pill, which can work. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I am saying it's not the only way. That's what I am saying. And I am saying that you should consider, if you're not feeling well, how is your life looking? Are you eating well? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough rest? Are you having fun? People forget about that part. But if you're not having fun, what's the point? It's not always a bag of balloons and unicorns and all that fun stuff, but you should at least be enjoying yourself some of the time. It should not be a grind constantly. You need to gamify your life if you can. So what can you do when you get this diagnosis? Well, first thing is, I would find out if you agree with it. Do you think that that's really true? Do you think that that diagnosis is correct? It's okay to go seek out additional resources. It's okay to seek out additional opinions. You're going to know what's going to resonate with you. So people completely underestimate the power of your mind. And I'm going to give you a really phenomenal example of something. And this is something that you can apply to your health. Okay. So there was a study done, and this has happened more than once, but I'm just going to mention this one about cleaning ladies in hotels. And a lot of them were overweight. A lot of them, were really unhealthy. And they interviewed them and said, well, what do you do for help? For exercise. And they're like, oh, nothing. I don't exercise because I'm too tired by the time I get home and blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. The people doing the research told the women, listen, what you're doing is exercise. This is working. You're working out. This is exercise right here. Your job is exercise. And hand to God, they all lost weight, a lot of weight, and quickly, because their mind changed from I don't do anything for health to I'm working out. And I can't even tell you how many times I will work with clients who don't believe that they'll be able to lose weight. You know what happens even if they're eating the perfect amount of calories, the right amount of macros and micros, working out the proper amount, doing all the things. They don't lose weight because they don't believe that they will. 100%. So the first thing you have to do when you are diagnosed with something is think about how you're thinking about this. Okay. So if something doesn't resonate with you with your doctor, just because you think they know better doesn't mean that they do know you. They know what they've seen in the past and what has been studied. Now, I have this other friend, and this is a perfect example. So let me back it up. All of the facts that they have, and I'm using air quotes here, all the facts that these doctors have are based on the people that come in to see them, that are based on what they've seen. It has nothing to do with what's actually out there. Now, what do I mean by that? This is where I'm going to tell you my story. I have this friend who says that all men are pigs, all men are cheaters. If you give them the right whatever, then they're all going to cheat, every single one of them. Now, she also happened to work at a strip club. And so all these men that she was talking about were all in a strip club. Now, I'm not saying that every man that goes to a strip club is a cheater. What I am saying is that not every man goes to a strip club. So how would she know really about all men? But she believes 100% that all men are bad cheaters given the right circumstances, because when they were at the club, they would all eventually cheat. It's kind of like going to a bar and being surprised, or like looking for people who aren't drinking. You're at a bar, right? But that doesn't mean that there isn't this whole population outside of the bar that isn't drinking. So Let me bring this back to what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is these doctors only have the cases that are in front of them. They don't know anybody else who has miraculously cured themselves. They don't know anybody else who never was diagnosed and it cured on their own. They don't have any of those facts. So just because a doctor tells you that it's a death sentence does not mean that it is. It just doesn't. 100% does not mean that. I mean, it just drives me crazy when people put that into your mind, even if it looks that way. You're taking out the opportunity for a miracle to happen. Now, once again, I am not saying that you don't do the treatment that is prescribed to you. I am not saying that what they're saying is wrong, but would you rather live with hope? Would you rather live fully? Or would you rather give up before you actually pass away? And people do this all the time, whether or not they have an illness or a disease. They do it all the time. People give up before their life, is over and just live the same day over and over again, Groundhog's Day, basically. So what I'm saying is just because you have this diagnosis does not mean that the prognosis is accurate. So you get to choose what you think is going to happen. You get to decide for yourself. Are you going to be able to lose that weight? Are you going to live through this cancer? It's 100% up to you. And you drastically increase your odds as soon as you start to believe it. Now, here's the thing about belief. And this is where it's like nice for me to say all this stuff, but what do? What happens, like you can't make yourself love somebody. You can't make yourself believe something. It has to happen, right? But what I'm asking you to do instead of, fake believing is hold or suspend your disbelief. Just hold on to the miracle. Hold on to the what if. Hold on to that part of things. Because if you do that, you drastically increase your odds of survival. You drastically increase your odds of quality of life while you are still in this little human body. All right. So we are actually going to go to a commercial break once again, real quick, and we'll be right back in just a minute.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. Okay, I'm Julianne. You are watching Own Your Wellness. I want to say hello to everybody who is watching us live. Happy to have you here. We've been talking about not being your diagnosis and what to do about it. What happens when you are diagnosed with something that is pretty serious and life-threatening and scary and all of these things. So, I talked a little bit about how, hold on a sec, sorry. Hi, Helene. How you doing? Anyway, I've been talking a little bit about how even though you get the diagnosis, you hear the words, you have fill in the blank. You do not have to become the disease. It does not have to rule your mind and rule every conversation that you have. And if you are thinking about it from that lens, you are going to make your life miserable. What's left of it? I mean, nobody knows how long they have. I keep saying this because it's so true. And the thing that, unless you're somebody like me or you're somebody who's been diagnosed with something, you don't really realize how little time you have in this little meat suit on this planet Earth. We really don't understand that we don't have a lot of time, and we never know when it's going to be taken away from us. We have no idea. And we have this weird, I don't know, it's like the Superman complex where we think we're going to live forever until we're told something. And then all of a sudden it becomes scary because all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I don't have that much time. But you don't know if you do or you don't. Nobody does. So what happens when you do get a diagnosis? There are so many things. There are so many other ways you can help yourself besides medicine, besides treatments. That is sick care. What are you doing for health care? There's a difference. Sick care is taking care of the sickness. That's taking your medicine. That is, going to your doctor's appointments, all these things. What is your health care? What are you doing to promote health? Not just keep something at bay or decrease a tumor size or something like that. That is sick care. What are you doing for health care? So there's been a million different studies about laughter. Laughter is a great medicine for illness. Laughter is a great medicine for disease. Laughter is a great medicine for depression, anxiety, all of these things. We should be laughing all the time. I mean, as much as possible. As much as possible. So that's one thing you can do is laugh. There's people and there's scientific proof, they have cured themselves from terminal diseases from their attitude and literally doing nothing but sitting there laughing and enjoying life, truly enjoying their life. And I mean, what's the worst that happens? It doesn't work and you die anyway. I mean, at least you're happy. You're not miserable while you're still here. There's no downside to, trying to find as much joy as possible. So what are some other things that you can do? Once again, it's all about positivity. What kind of people are you surrounding yourself with? Are you constantly talking about your illness? Because if you are creating yourself a bigger problem than it needs to be. I mean, that might be a comfortable thing to hear, but the point is that you have to focus on what you want and not what you don't want. If you focus on what you don't want, you get more of that. If you focus on what you want, you get more of that. So it's a law of the universe. It's not like I'm making this stuff up. So what do you want? You have to focus on wellness, not sickness. It's not I'm very passionate about this because I deal with a lot of and spend time with a lot of people who have been ill. And the ones that make it are the ones that move forward without feeling so sorry for themselves all of the time. It's the ones that really make an effort to enjoy life while they can. Now, as I'm saying that, I am reminding you once again, it is okay to have negative feelings. It is okay to feel sorry for yourself. It is okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel fear, but don't camp there forever. Do not sit there and rest in that constantly. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you surrounding yourself with healthy people who can be there for you and give you those good vibes? Or are you surrounding yourself with people who are really sick and feeling sorry for themselves because they are? If you're doing that, you become like the people you spend the most time with. So think about who you want to spend time with. It's really, it's almost too simple that people don't believe it'll work, but it does work. So that's a couple things to think about. Other things too is, just really enjoy. I keep saying this, but enjoying all the little things. I don't care if you have an illness or a disease or not at all. You should be and this is the one time I want you to should yourself, is you should be enjoying as much as possible, really truly appreciating with gratitude the things that you do have, because those things can increase if you don't appreciate them. It's like the old saying, if you can't handle $1,000, you'll never be able to handle 10,000. So if you can't handle and cherish the little things that you can be grateful for, then you'll never have the bigger things. It just doesn't work that way. That's just not how the world works. Now, going back to like the whole idea of the diagnosis, the actual diagnosis. Like I said, I just, what my sister-in-law passed away recently, and she had cancer, and she was misdiagnosed, and, she went from like ringing the bell to passing away within weeks. And it was really a really sad story. And it bothers me because obviously I love her very much. And the thing is that if she had, maybe been more of an advocate for herself and tried other ways besides what the doctor told her, is she could have at least felt empowered, and her family who's left feel like everything was done that was possible. Because here's the thing about when you're sick and you're diagnosed with something, is that, and not that you need to put this on your shoulders or anything, but you don't live on an island by yourself. There are people around you that love you and care for you. And if you end up passing away, they need to be able to move on as best as they can, knowing that they did the best they could to help you. So you need to accept their help if you can, as long as it is genuine help. Some people think they're helping and they're not, and that's okay. Like, you need to know your boundaries, right? So I just want you to think about that. But that got a little heavy, and I want to lighten the mood. So we are actually going to do something fun that we haven't done in a while, and we're going to do a segment. So here we are. Be strong.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Here's to Your Health with Coach Drew. In addition to personal training, I'm also a personal development speaker, and one of the topics I speak on is change and how to make any change in life. And I always say the first step in making change in life is awareness. How that applies to what we're going to talk about today in regards to your health is we're going to talk about a tool that is going to help you become more aware of how healthy you're being in your life, to help you become as healthy as you want to be in your life. So today we're going to talk about food journals. Now, food journals can be old school, like this one. I like to use old school notebooks just to keep track of what I'm eating and how often I'm exercising. Obviously, there's a ton of great fitness apps out there that help you keep track of those things as well today. Even smartwatches that track everything for you. Whatever the case is, it's important, especially if you're looking to make a change in your health, if you're just sort of stuck, is to start writing down, or at least logging, what you are eating and drinking every given day. So when I work with my clients and they're looking to lose weight, I always start them off with two things. One, a food journal, and two, writing down their goals, obviously. But the food journal is important because it covers a few things. As I mentioned before, it covers awareness. It helps you become more aware of what you are putting inside your body. Because sort of like our thinking, most of us on a daily basis sort of eat and drink fairly mindlessly, especially if we're eating and drinking the same sort of things most days. It becomes so routine that we don't even think about it, and then we wonder why, oh my God, why am I overweight, or why do I feel so sluggish, or why do I feel so weak? So the first part of keeping a food journal is it keeps that awareness. The second part is that it makes you more accountable to yourself. And the beauty is, if you have a trainer like myself, the trainer, if you show your journal to your trainer every session, that really keeps you accountable. You would think you'd be more accountable to yourself, but trust me, I've had clients tell me, Drew, I was totally going to eat that bag of chips with my lunch, but I thought, oh God, Drew's going to give me a hard time if I do that. So I didn't do it. So especially if you have a trainer, a food journal is great for accountability, but even if you don't, it's that awareness and accountability to yourself that it really helps you with. Every week or so, just look back on your journal and see what you're doing. Because again, if you're really diligent in marking everything down, you'll start realizing, oh my God, like I didn't realize I was doing these little snacks late at night so often, or maybe I had more than a couple cocktails this week. So I can't recommend any more highly keeping a food journal, keeping that awareness, keeping that accountability to yourself or to your fitness professional. And that's been another edition of Here's to Your Health with Coach Drew. I'll see you next month. Have a great day.
Welcome back. All right. So as I mentioned before, my book, both Drew and I are authors in this, Achieve Wellness, as I have it's hard to see because of the light. Anyway, it's shiny, but you guys get this. So I wrote an entire chapter on You Are Not Your Diagnosis. And so I do, if you guys are interested, you can reach out to me and I will send you a book. Yeah, so that's how that is. But anyway, Drew mentioned something that I think that I want to bring back into the conversation that we've been talking about, with You Are Not Your Diagnosis, and that is awareness. And yes, you cannot put your head in the sand. You cannot, because that isn't going to make things better for you. But what is working for you? So maybe keeping a joy journal or like a gratitude journal or something like that where you can see where your joy is, what brings you happiness, what, brings those endorphins and puts your body back into, I don't know, more of a happy homeostasis. Then do more of that. Like your body is your guide. The problem is that, we stopped listening to ourselves. We stopped listening to our body. We started listening to the doctor, who, I'm not saying that he's wrong or she's wrong. What I'm saying is that you live in your body. You know better than they do. They're looking at you from their perspective, telling you what their best guess is, because ultimately it's a freaking guess. That's all there is to it. It's a guess. I can't even tell you how many people I know have been diagnosed with cancer, and it turns out they didn't even have it. They had something else, and it was like so much easier to fix, and they went through chemo and radiation and all these things. People are misdiagnosed all the time. And why is that? Because doctors are making their best educated guess. And I'm not saying they're just guessing, like rolling the dice. I'm saying that they're guessing. And that's all there is to it. We're all guessing. So why not be our own advocate? Why not figure out like, okay, that doesn't resonate with me. That isn't sitting well with me. What can I do? Just because somebody says this is the way that this illness is treated does not mean it's the only way that you can help yourself and cure yourself. It just isn't. I mean, we've lived on this planet for God knows how long, people in general. It does not, just because your particular doctor thinks that that's the way to solve something doesn't mean it's the only way to solve something. Now, I remember when I was, I went to go see a psychiatrist, and because I was on an antidepressant and a sleep aid, and I wanted to get off of them both because I was ready to. And this dude says to me, hand to God, he says to me, he wanted me to be, what was it? Like, I think he wanted me to be bipolar. He was like, yeah, if you're bipolar, then all you have to do is like take this pill. And all I could think of was, okay, I'm never coming back here, you psychopath. He wanted me to stay on medication forever. He wanted me to have an illness so that I could take a magic pill and be better. He didn't even listen to me. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not on anything. I haven't been for years. And I'm not putting down anybody who is on an antidepressant or anything, or a sleep aid or anything like that. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is that this particular doctor told me that that was the only way for me to get better. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. One more. Man, my allergies are insane lately. Woo! I just wish they would get better. My eyes are beet red now. But anyway, my whole point though is that had I listened to that doctor, I would probably be over medicated. And every time you introduce some sort of medication, I don't care if it's supposed to heal you or not, it causes another imbalance in your body. It just does. That's just the nature of things, because our body is very finely tuned and we don't give it enough credit to heal itself. Who knows how many people have had cancer or HIV or all these other major illnesses and just cured themselves without anybody ever really knowing about it, because they never went to the doctor and they were never told that they had this and that they were, going to die, or they had to do this, or all of those different things. You understand what I'm saying, right? Okay. All right. So, yeah, I just want you to be your own advocate. The name of the show is Own Your Wellness. So own it and listen to yourself first. We are taught, especially in Western medicine, to listen to the person in the white coat, and what they say is God, what they say is gold. That is not true. Like I said, they're giving their best educated guess. They might be right, but they might not be. You don't know. They don't know. That's the whole thing. They don't know. They cannot say for sure. And if you don't own that diagnosis, if you do not become that diagnosis, then it has less power over you. And that's my whole point, is that it has less power over you when you just don't believe absolutely everything that is told to you. I'm just saying. Now, I'm not saying that, Western medicine is bad. I'm definitely not. I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to your doctor. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you should listen to yourself as well. And what do you think is best? And just because somebody tells you that there's no hope doesn't mean that there isn't. There are so many miracle stories out there. Read those. Hear about those. How about, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but there's so many of them. There's Danny and Brinkley. Danny and Brinkley has died, I think it's 3 times, like literally died, dead. One of the times he was burned from the inside out because he got hit by a lightning bolt through the telephone, and it literally burned him from the inside out. They put him to the morgue, and as they were like moving him to the morgue, he came back to life. Okay. So, I mean, he was not expected to live, and he lived through 2 more. I think it's 2 more. Definitely 1 more for sure, where he literally died. And not this, like they got the paddles out and brought him back. Like he was dead, for like pronounced dead, and came back to life after he was pronounced dead. So these miracles happen all the time. We just don't hear about them. And people think of them as an anomaly. But what if they aren't? What if, and what if you're the miracle? What about that? You're going to discount yourself? I'd hope not. Anyway, we are going to go to one last commercial break. We'll be right back in just a minute. Welcome back. All right, no more commercials. All right, so I forgot to mention something in the beginning of the show. That is so cool. Guess who got to go hang out with members of Earth, Wind, and Fire? This girl right here on Saturday night. It was so amazing. Verdine White, who is one of the founding members, I got a picture with him. Yay. And it was so much fun. Anyway, that was really cool. And that was one of the things that, happens when you have your own TV show. You get to invited to different things and be around and meet different people. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I have my own TV network. We are launching very, very soon. It's called Achieve TV, and it is a television network for entrepreneurs. It's going to be here on E360 TV as the distributor, but you'll be able to find my show there as well as a bunch of other new shows. So it's pretty exciting. And if you are somebody that is interested in having your own TV show and possibly, bringing edutainment to the masses, I would love for you to reach out to me. You can reach me at ownyourwellness.net or at Jules Ann Meyer on my Instagram. Either way, I would love to chat with you. So anyway, now it is time for... All right. Here is the questions. What do people have? Curiosity. All right. Oh, I like this question. All right. What does it matter what I watch on TV? And does it really affect me? We were just talking about this on the show, weren't we? Okay. Yes. Here's the thing. If any of you are familiar with muscle testing, this is an absolutely fabulous way to find out if your body is actually responding negatively, positively, or whateverly, is by muscle testing. So what you do is you put your arm out and you ask a question. And if it's true, your hand doesn't go down. If it is not true, it goes down all the way. And that's how you can tell if something is good for you, if it's true for you. Here's the thing. Your brain cannot tell the difference between real and fake. So you're watching all these murder shows and you are literally putting death and destruction into your brain. That's why when a lot of therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists recommend that somebody who is dealing with depression and anxiety just stop watching the news. There is a reason for it. That's what you put your brain on. What you focus on expands. So all you're going to see, and all of a sudden you're going to start noticing all the death, the destruction, the negative things. All of it is there. Now, do you see it or do you not? It's the same thing with all the positivity. If you're focusing on the positive, that's what you're going to gravitate towards. It's kind of like, it's your reticular activating system. So for those of you who are not familiar with the reticular activating system, that's your brain. This is kind of like the science way of explaining magic. Say you're interested in buying a car. Now, all of a sudden, all the cars you see practically on the road are that car. Those cars were freaking there before, but you just notice them now. Now your brain picks it up because there's only X amount of input that your brain can absorb at any given time. All the information is out there, but what are you actually absorbing? So your brain sort of picks and chooses what's important to it. So once it's decided something's important to it, it's going to start noticing more of that. And like I said, your brain can't tell the difference between real and fake. So if you are putting in all this death, destruction, and negative information into your body, into your brain, that's what it's going to think is real. That's what it's going to start noticing because that's what you're saying to it is important. And plus, it wants to protect itself and protect you. So this is something to think about. I want you to think about what you want to feel, how you want to be. If you want to be a positive, happy person, you don't hang out with negative Nellies and you don't watch negative things. You don't listen to misogynistic music and you don't, that's just things you don't do. So if you want to be positive, you want to be happy, yes, it is important what you watch. It is important what you listen to. You don't just ingest things through your mouth. All right. What's next? Here's a good question, hopefully. All right, here it is. Oh, I like this one. Should I take a multivitamin? I love this question because I get it a lot. Here's the thing with a multivitamin. Not all multivitamins are created equal. You have to think about it like food. Are you going to go to the bargain basement and get the bargain basement food and expect, fine dining quality? No. But here's the thing. If you are eating well, then you probably don't necessarily need a multivitamin. That being said, the problem with even eating really, really healthy is that you're still going to be missing micronutrients and different levels of vitamins and things like that. And the reason why is because even though you're eating really well, the soil that food is, grown in isn't as good as it used to be. And so your food is not going to have as many nutrients in it. So there's definitely a positive thing about taking a really good quality multivitamin. Do you absolutely have to have one? No, you don't. I don't take them because I don't like pills. But if you're going to take one, make sure it's quality, make sure it has the things that you need. Now, one of the things that I would recommend is vitamin D. People completely underestimate the importance of vitamin D. Get outside, get in front of the sun as much as you can without burning up. It actually does help prevent cancer. So, and I mean, that's just one of the many, many benefits, plus mood stuff. So think about that. I definitely want you to, vitamin D is the one thing that we should, you can't really get that in pill form though. All right. Here's a good question. Is it safe to drink tap water? Well, if you're in the United States, it is technically safe to drink tap water. Is it good for you? Not all water is created equal. Now, here's the thing about buying water versus tap water. Tap water, I don't even remember the last time I drank out of the tap. I really don't. But if you can't afford good water, and what I'm going to go over what good water is, water's better than no water at all. So, this is kind of one of those things where you have got to pick and choose where your budget is and, what you want to put into your body. Now, the thing I want you to think about is if you're mostly made up of water, wouldn't it behoove you? Wouldn't it be a great idea for you to put quality water into your body? Because that is literally being the biggest ingredient of your existence is water. So the thing is there's all these pH balanced waters out there and things like that, but most of them are in plastic bottles. And even if it supposedly, I don't know, is pH balanced and all these things, it's still leaching plastic into your water. So you are drinking plastic. So that is something to keep in mind. If you can do one thing for yourself, drink out of glass, drink out of metal, do not drink out of plastic, and definitely never drink out of a water bottle that's been out in the sun or in the heat, because that is definitely leached. The plastic is definitely leached into your water. Now, all these claims about the healthiness of, the pH balance and all that, most of the time, by the time you get the water, that's not even true. So I usually go for taste, and not all water tastes the same. I cannot stand Evian. I actually like Dasani, which is made by Coca-Cola. I don't drink it unless I am, in dire need. I actually get my water from a water company. And we go and get glass bottles full of water and drink it. But water dies just like everything else. So you do want fresh water, as fresh as possible. That is the one thing that I would say that is really super important. And, anything that is from the city, you don't know what else is in that water. So I'd be very careful about drinking tap water. At the very least, get yourself a filter and filter your water. Okay. All right. I really want to answer this question, but I think I'm going to do that one later because it's a long one and we don't have that much time. All right. And it's a good one. So maybe we'll answer it next week. But it is, can I be fat and still be healthy? And so that is a question that I would love to answer, but I don't think at 3-4 minutes too that we should go into it. All right. So the question I am going to answer is, do I really need to go in for a yearly exam? Now, I have been sort of talking about doctors and all of this and don't believe the diagnosis and all of that. Well, here's the thing. It is a good idea to go and get a checkup at least once a year, so that you have a baseline, so that you can see where you are versus the year before. So you can see if there's been any major changes. Now, for example, my cholesterol was super high one year. And I mean, I ate healthy and everything else, but I mean, that just runs in my family. So there isn't really too much that I could do about it. But I did change the way I ate even more, and it made a huge difference. And the point, though, is that I probably wouldn't have known because I didn't feel really any different. But I actually did, my blood work was different. So if you are going to do anything, I highly recommend blood work. If you are going to see a doctor and you don't want to go through like the traditional medicine route, I do recommend a functional doctor, because not only do they have a Western medicine degree, but they also have more Eastern philosophies embedded in. They're more into healthcare as opposed to sick care. So I do recommend a functional doctor over your GP. But that being said, whatever you feel the most comfortable with, honestly, that's who you should go see. And like I said, it's good to have the baseline. It's good to know where you are versus last year and see if there's anything that you can catch early. Because if something sits there and festers until it leaves, see, here's the thing that, let me back this up again. We don't listen to our bodies, do we? Until something is really wrong. So sometimes if you go in and you get an exam, it will point out things that maybe your symptoms aren't bad enough yet to notice. So it will help you change your ways sooner. So yes, I do definitely recommend going in at least once a year for an exam to make sure that everything is running smoothly in the body. But first and foremost, we got to learn how to listen to ourselves. All right. So anyway, it is about that time to end the show. And I just want to say thank you for joining us. On Thursday, we do have a special guest, Phyllis Benstein. She is going to be talking about toxins and how to avoid them, natural beauty products and how good they are for you. She is she's so much more than that. We might even be talking about, she does a lot of networking things, which I think is really amazing, especially with, after COVID and our lack of connection. So that's our guest on Thursday, Phyllis Marlene Benstein. I'm excited to have her. We've been wanting her on the show for a few months now, and it finally worked out. So yeah, we'll have her on Thursday. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. But she is definitely a health and wellness advocate. And when it comes to products for yourself, she's the woman to talk to because she knows all about it. So thank you for joining us, everyone. And we will be back on Thursday. Enjoy your week.